Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fantastic episode of our BNI San Diego podcast. I'm really excited today because not only do I get to interview and have a conversation with one of my best friends, this guy is an amazing guy, Andy Cruz, the owner of Cruz Productions. Andy is also the one that actually does our podcast production. So all the fine tuning, the intro, the exit, all the good stuff that you get to see, this is done by Cruz Production. He's got an amazing team, a fantastic family, Jen, his wife, and 3 beautiful daughters, and just a all-around great guy. And Andy, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Ed. I think I should use that intro for other things I do. Just have you just
put it on your phone and just right every once in a while, just play it.
That sounds pretty good, man.
Yeah. So Andy, what are we talking about today?
So today I want to talk to everyone about raising your game. And This actually started with a interview that was sent to me by someone in my team, which was an interview between Ed Milet and Alan Stein. And so Alan Stein is the author of the book called Raise Your Game.
Yeah.
And so this has been a fantastic read for me at this stage in my career, but also in BNI as well, because there's applicability for both things. So today I wanted to talk about some of the things that are most useful coming from this that are really practical. They're easy, they're approachable, and everyone can do these things. I think part of it is becoming aware, like having self-awareness. It's actually one of the first chapters in this book is being self-aware about the situation in your business, in your membership, and BNI, and of yourself, and then applying those things to where you're looking to see outputs or certain outcomes that you have desire for in either your company, your personal life, or again, in your BNI membership. So I want to go down that rabbit hole, share some of the takeaways I already have from this, and hopefully that can help some people listening today.
Well, I'm really excited to get on this topic. I love this topic. You know, when you think about excellence and mediocrity, there's not a big difference. It's not. So I'm looking forward to this dialogue.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Ivan even has a really famous statement about mediocrity, right?
Yep. What is that statement, Andy?
It is why settle for mediocrity when excellence is an option.
That's it.
Yeah. When I heard him say that, that's stuck with me for all these years now. So okay, let's just get right in. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is doing little things better than everybody else. And so many times, especially now in culture and business and online, and we do these things. So I'm going to put a little disclaimer. Yeah, we do the pizzazz promo hype stuff too, because we have to talk about some of those things in business. You have to engage people. But part of the reason why that even happens is because you do the little things well. And so from the book, Raise Your Game, one of the things that Alan talks about, and many people know this story about John Wooden, but some people don't, so we'll tell it really quickly. If you don't know, John Wooden is the most winningest college basketball coach as far as championships is concerned. 10 championships while coaching UCLA. And he became notorious and famous for having a little quirky process at the beginning of every year. He'd have his new team, and these are, collegiate Division I athletes who know how to play basketball.
Been doing it for years, right?
And they've been doing it forever. That's why they got to UCLA. It's because they're good. And he would teach these young men how to properly put on their socks and their shoes. Because putting on your socks and shoes incorrectly can, over the course of time, create compromise in your foot health, which then creates compromise in how you do anything on the court, which then can compromise winning or losing, which then can compromise championships or no championships. So doing the little things with excellence and doing the little things better than everyone else mattered. And he focused on the process versus the outcome, because by focusing on the process, the outcome would be there. And so that's kind of the main takeaway on that one.
And it's funny because everybody focuses on the outcome. This is the outcome I want, right? Without looking at the detail.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the difference. That's what sets you apart. Everybody says, sure, what sets you apart from your competition? And people go into all of these things that are really about just keeping up with the Joneses.
Well, and some of that is, again, like this little disclaimer I said at the beginning of this part, is like sometimes you have to say those things. Like we got look, there's awards right here. There's awards over here. Like there's awards because you earned them, but you earned them because when you go upstream, there was a process that was followed. There was a dedicated step and a commitment to doing certain things that caused that outcome. And this is exemplified by another thing from the book that I wanted to bring up today too, which is the first time he met Kobe Bryant. And Again, we all know who Kobe Bryant is and all of the accolades he has as a professional athlete. And, the first time he met him, he found out that, while normal NBA players do 2-a-day workouts, like 9 and 1 or 9 and 4 or whatever, Kobe does 3-a-day workouts. He starts one at 4 a.m. because he wants to get an extra workout in and get that edge over his competition in the most competitive league on the planet.
That's what makes him who he is.
So here Alan is thinking, okay, I'm going to be at the gym. Kobe's workout starts at 4. I'm going to get there a little bit early. I'm going to impress him. I'm going to get there at 3:30 in the morning. And here Alan shows up at 3:30 in the morning, and he was walking up to the gym, and guess what? The lights are on, and he already hears the sneakers squeaking on the wood. And guess who it is? It's Kobe already working and warming up for the 4 a.m. workout. And he says this little caveat in the story, or this little takeaway in the story, which is like, for half an hour, he watched Kobe work on a pivot, the same pivot, not a shot, not a move, not a dunk, not a pass, he worked on a pivot. So back to like the socks and shoes part of the John Wooden, and then you match that with the Kobe part, and I'm just working on my pivot. Like, okay, yeah, sure, those shoes got to be fit right, those socks got to be on, and your feet got to be healthy, your body's got to be ready for the game. But then you have to have that pivot down so routinely that it's second nature, and you can do it without thinking about it. And that then applies to us in business with our processes that cause the outcomes we want, and even in our membership. I have to do BNI at the level at which I can have the expected outcome that I desire. A lot of people come to BNI, and I'm no exception, where I'm looking for results. I'm looking for more results, better results, different results, and just more. Well, okay, there's a process for that. We have all sorts of training and coaching that help people get the most out of their membership if we just do those little things better than everybody else.
Well, and Dr. Meisner calls that the fundamentals, right?
The fundamentals.
Fundamentals.
That's why we have the power of one. And at the same time, let me also say that I'm not saying do the little things better than everyone else, meaning go compete against your members. You still do that with the embodiment of Giver's Gain. You still do that with the attitude of Giver's Gain, that me doing this better than someone else can help pour into them. Like there's an overflow of this in me that can bring some extra to this person who's in my chapter or on my team at work, or et cetera, et cetera.
Well, yeah, it's about bringing mastery to yourself.
Yes.
Which in turn is going to pour into your entire team.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And what I started realizing and noticing, and I've been having this conversation with numerous people over the last couple of weeks since watching the interview and reading the book, is that the compromise reveals your standards. Your compromise, and that's what can hurt you, is that the compromise, because you have to pay attention to what you compromise, because that's actually what your standards are. A lot of people, I have really high standards. Our standards are higher than everybody else's. Like, you can say that, but then the standards are really what you tolerate.
Yep.
So it's like, if your standards you think are this high, but what you tolerate is this high, well, that's actually what your standard is. Yeah, your standard is what you tolerate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you being a seasoned BNI member, how long have you been in BNI now?
My first started joining BNI in 2009.
So yeah, just a couple of years, right?
Yeah, I had a break because of a health reason that took me out, and had to close that company. But then I came back to BNI. So I've been in BNI now since.
Just so Andy, you were never gone.
I was never really gone. I really wasn't never gone. And actually, that's a Giver's Gain story in itself, because people that were long-term chapter members and friends of mine, they all came around me in my time. And I was consulting for chapter members when I wasn't in the chapter, helping do things in their company that they needed that plug-in. They need that excellence in a certain department or area. And multiple people hired me to do that while I was getting back on my feet health-wise, and then starting this new company.
Yeah, and it's been awesome to watch.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
To see Cruise Productions evolve has been amazing.
Yeah.
It's led to today. It's led to, everything that we're doing, even starting this BNI San Diego podcast. I really appreciate your efforts and again, bringing it to excellence. And that's what today's topic is about. So, we talked about, obviously, that there's a small hint of BNI in our conversation.
Yeah.
So for those individuals that we know that are kind of either coming in or let's face it, some of our seasoned members. Yeah, because it's really easy in anything, not just BNI, but in anything. When you do something for a long time, it's really easy to get laxed, right? It's really easy to just kind of
And I think it's about identifying performance gaps, number one, and that applies to your membership. Where is it I'm lacking? Look at your Power Win report. Look at your attendance. Look at your referrals given. Look at your referrals received. Look at your CEUs. Can you trace a straight line from the amount of CEUs and things you've learned to what you've applied in BNI to the outcomes you're getting in closed business, increased referrals, new visitors, that kind of thing? So all those measurables are there for a reason. And the applicability of them really comes down to willingness as well as awareness. And I think you have to be aware of where your performance gaps are and then work to close them. And if you are a seasoned member, that means you've been around people long enough that they know you. They can tell you and show you where maybe there are some blind spots in a loving and caring way with that giver's gain attitude where it's not offensive.
If you're willing to receive it, because that's the other part, right? Because if you're not willing to receive it and you're not open to coaching, it's not going to go well. So you've got to have that right mindset of, hey, I'm always growing, always. John Maxwell's book, Failing Forward, right?
Yeah.
Failing Forward. We're always moving. It just reminded me something that you said of another book that I recently read, and I can't remember who the author is, but the listeners can look it up. It's called What Got You Here Won't Get You There.
Yeah. It's that same. Look, I understand it's easy to feel like we've arrived. But we exist in business culture and in BNI culture that's constantly changing still. And so if we do not change with some of those things, maybe some of the old ways don't work. There are a lot of the old ways that still work because they're just tried and true for human behavior and personality. And then there's things that change along the course of time because they're changing with the flow of the entire culture of business. And so if you don't know like where your blind spots are, someone needs to tell you that. You need to be willing to hear it. And what will get us into the next phase of BNI is not what has brought us here. It'll be all those things that have brought us here, plus some of the new things that we need to adopt along the way. And I think that's what makes a big difference.
One of our core values in BNI is traditions plus innovations.
Right. And it's that way for a reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and if you think about how business is evolving and how quick, I mean, years ago, you'd see changes take place over 10 years. Now they're almost instant. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at this, not only the speed of technology growth and expansion, but also the reach, the depth, but also how many things technology is dipping into industry-wise, whether it's the power of computer-aided learning or AI. That's a whole separate conversation, but that definitely is exposing the speed at which there can be, the sand eroding underneath the feet of some people in some industries that we need to be aware of, and then figure out, okay, well, how do we take that tradition plus innovation and keep those things together?
And what an incredible topic. I mean, let's face it, we're all striving to get better. We're all looking at, but I love the premise of this conversation is remembering those basic elements. Don't continually look at what you want that outcome to be. Focus on those little things that are going to lead to the outcome.
Yeah. The vision board is important. Like if you have a vision board, that you should have a vision board. You should have goals for BNI. You should have that outcome pinpointed, but the things you do derive that outcome. And I think there's just not enough talk sometimes about that. There's a ton of stuff if you go looking for it, but you have to be looking for it. And, one thing before we close, I want to tell you something that was kind of struck me, and it relates to BNI and it relates to business too. And this isn't just the promoter in me, but it's that if you don't know what you do well and you don't know what your wins have been, no one else will either. Like that's part of us explaining and people knowing us in BNI. It's becoming known as a member. It's becoming known as a business person. And you have to do a little bit of that. Did you know that did you know that we have helped or done this thing? That matters because it's also bringing confidence to your members that when they're inviting visitors, there are such high quality people there that others need to meet. And it makes it easier for them to invite people if they're going to meet you. Does that make sense?
And not just, it's also not assuming that people know what you do. Right. Because oftentimes it's really easy to assume, they've seen me every week. We've had one-to-ones. We've interacted. They know. And one of the things that we talk a lot about during our coaching calls that happen twice a month here in BNI San Diego on the second and fourth Friday of every month at 9 a.m. Little plug there. Is
speaking of things people may not know about.
Talking about we when we're talking and coaching and advising our amazing referral partners, one of the things we talk about is if somebody has to work at getting you a referral or finding you a referral, you probably won't get one.
Yeah. And there's probably a better way of teaching people what to look for, what to listen for, and what to do that we just haven't gone that far yet. And that's it's funny. You just tripped on like my final point for today's talk, which is I didn't come this far. It's only come this far. And that really struck me because it's this embodiment of what you're talking about right here is like, if it's difficult for people to give you a referral, there's probably a reason. But if we full circle this conversation, go ask, find out, where's that gap? Is it a performance gap? Is it a blind spot? Is it something in the fundamentals I'm not doing well? The evidence, if it's a BNI related problem, the evidence of what you're doing or not doing chapter wise is already recorded. It's there in the slips. It's there in your power of one. You can get feedback from your most well-respected members that you're willing to listen to that have been there longest. There's so many different ways for us to identify how to get further and really, raise your own game, but get the outcomes that you're hoping to get inside BNI and for your company as well.
Well, and it's the key thing is asking for feedback. There's a lot of people that are afraid of feedback, right? And to be able to just do the simple thing of asking someone that you know that should be a natural referral partner and you're not getting referrals from them, go to them and say, hey, Andy, you know what? I want to be able to up my game for you and for other people in the chapter. What are some things that you might see that are hindering people from finding me referrals or from that side of things? Absolutely.
Yeah. You have to know what it is that's impeding your progress. And if there's something impeding your progress, please tell me about it. If there's something that's preventing me from earning a referral, please tell me what it is so I can address if that's something I need to actually fix, or if it's something I didn't even know about that I have to add. Like, what is it?
So what do they call that? They call those drag points. And you, Mr. Car Guy, will probably know this better. And I'm going to screw it up. I already know it. But I know that I think it was the Corvette and Porsche? They're two different engines. One's much higher than the other. And it probably wasn't those two. I know that Porsche was one. But the one engine was higher than the other. And I think it was Porsche that had a lower engine. But when it came time to speed on the road, they were equal. And it was about drag points, right? Yeah. Because you want to be sleek and move through that air. Yeah. So they as many drag points as you can take off, the better.
Right. And it makes your car slippery.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So Andy, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. Some last words, right? Some individuals, like we've got listeners right now that are coming into BNI. We've got listeners that are seasoned members in BNI. For those individuals who want to up their game, want to make things better, want to be able to get everything out of BNI that they can, not spending time, but really investing their time properly, what would you recommend as some final words?
Can I say two pieces of advice? Number one is let's admit, like we're going to make mistakes in life. We're not going to get everything right, but let's not get into the habit of compounding them. Let's not compound those mistakes. Let's fix those things and raise your game by eliminating things that may be harming you, your business, or your BNI membership and your reputation, those kinds of things. And then the other thing is just remember that a wall is built brick by brick. And this is all stuff from the book.
Ooh, interesting concept.
A wall is built brick by brick. You may have the wall in mind when you start, but it's literally one brick at a time, one level at a time, one layer at a time. And that's how you end up at the end.
That's what's going to produce the wall at the end. Absolutely.
That's right. Yep.
I love that. I really appreciate, again, your time. Cruz Productions, everybody. Andy Cruz. And again, I look forward to having you on again, because we've got a lot of topics that you and I can touch on in multiple ways.
Yeah, a lot more topics and a whole other book.
Oh, multiple books. I've got some here on this side as well.
Awesome.
So everyone, thank you for joining us again for another insightful opportunity to speak to an amazing guest. We will be back with you next week. And again, don't forget, we want to hear from you. We want to hear some of the topics that you would love to hear about. And we're also looking for those potential speakers that are going to be interviewed. So send us an email at podcasts@bnisd.com. podcast@bnisd.com. And again, thank you for joining us, Andy. It's always a pleasure. We look forward to having you back with us.
Thank you, Ed.
Talk to y'all soon.
This episode of the BNI San Diego podcast has been brought to you by Cruise Productions, a San Diego-based video production company and proud BNI member. You can find us at the intersection where business and creativity meet, or online at cruiseproductionsinc.com.